Welcome to Deeply Disturbing Things,
the podcast.
I'm Macy.
And I'm Naomi.
And we are two anxious counselors who like to talk about deeply disturbing things.
And hoping we can find some light in the darkness. We shall see.
If you see bugs on us, it is not us. It is the portal.
It is the room. The bugs are crawling in. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about a local situation that happened back in the 90s. This is a topic that came from Paul, my lover.
French for lover.
Lover. And I don't like the word boyfriend. I think it's kind of dumb.
Your
And
relationship.
I don't really like partner because we're not in business together.
Yeah,
and man friend isn't a word.
It's a relationship.
Lover. It's a lover.
It's a lover.
Luvah.
I can't say I like that either. That's all right.
So he's been talking about this for a long time, and so finally I'm like, okay, I'll dig into it and see. And I'm like, okay, podcast worthy for sure. So this is about in the 90s, some bad stuff that our coroner did. Real bad.
That are what did?
Coroner.
Oh, like the U.S. coroner or like
Our Spokane coroner.
Is there only one in the
Yeah.
90s? Okay.
Yeah, we just have one. It's an elected position. I kind of learned some stuff digging into this. I didn't realize they're elected.
I didn't.
Yeah, they're elected officials.
Did I elect one?
Yeah, you might. Do you vote?
I mean,
Well, you live in a different city, so you have your own coroner you vote on.
Mm-hmm.
This is just
For our valley values.
Valley coroner, yeah. So this coroner was called Dr. Dexter Amend. Yes, his first name is Dexter.
Dexter.
Like the show, Dexter. Dr. Dexter Amend, former Spokane coroner. So at the end of 1996, he was fighting to keep his doctor's license. So he was a medical doctor, a urologist. And I learned you do not have to have a medical doctor's license to be coroner. Like it's not actually required. I'm like, what could I be coroner?
Is it just like maybe it's like a year's experience or something?
I'm not sure what the requirements are. But it seems like you're, looking at dead people and determining cause of death. There should be some kind of medical training involved.
Probably.
So he was fighting to keep his license because a 47-page motion was filed by the State Medical Quality Assurance Commission to take his license away. So he was really trying to save his license. So he was trying to separate his role as coroner, which the complaints were about, from his license.
Right.
So he was trying to separate that in order to, save his ass, basically. So the state was considering revoking his medical license for unprofessional conduct during death investigations. And so there was going to be a commission hearing board that would decide if they were going to suspend his license, take it away altogether, put him on probation, or do nothing. So Amend's defense was a coroner's duties include asking probing and sometimes very intrusive questions to find out how a person died, including the surrounding circumstances. So that was his defense.
Probing,
yes.
I probably wouldn't use that word in any defense.
Yes, and it's actually an interesting choice of words. So he goes on to say, what might be unprofessional conduct for a physician treating a patient becomes constitutionally protected conduct when performed by an elected official in a political setting. So I don't know if I would say that those boundaries. I don't
like that wordsmithing he's doing there.
Well, you'll love this even less.
Great.
He goes on to say, for example,
I love loving less. Let's do it. Go for it.
for example, an elected official is expected to take a stand and to comment on controversial subjects such as sodomy or homosexuality.
Well, he said because he says so.
He says so.
Hmm. That's not part of his elected official
Duties?
duties.
Yes. So even when I was looking into this and taking into consideration the cultural times, this is mid 90s, still what he was doing was effed. So he gets no passes.
I wasn't gonna give any.
So one of the charges of unprofessional contact and moral turpitude.
And you know it's gonna be a good case when moral turpitude is
I
involved.
just love that word.
Moral turpitude.
Why are we not using turpitude?
Turpitude
Yes.
I need it to call a meeting to discuss your turpitude.
Let's bring it into
What is
the
what is the
zeitgeist.
formal definition of turpitude?
I don't know, but I just like it.
I understand it in context. Like I
Yeah.
agree. It's like it makes it shiny. It's like adding glitter.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like it because turpitude kind of reminds me of the word turd.
Ooh, it means pretty close. It means
Turd-like behavior.
pretty much. Where did that just go? It means depravity, wickedness. Moral turpitude. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's interesting that he's being charged with the terp
The
when
turp term.
when
Nefariousness.
you see what he's doing, and I would turn the tables.
Corruptness, immorality.
All right, so those are his two charges: unprofessional conduct and moral turpitude. So one of the charges involved Jeffrey Himes, who was an 11-year-old boy who died in a fire. So in the motion, Dr. Amend admitted to making several comments that victims' families found offensive. Amend admitted asking whether drugs, alcohol, and masturbation occurred in the shed where Jeffrey Hines tragically burned to death
I mean, he tragically burned to death
in a fire.
with his penis out. Isn't it always out once the clothes burn off? Like, how did he know?
No, he was
No,
asking.
but how does masturbation then apply unless his penis is
Exactly.
out?
Well, how does it apply? What
Right.
does that have to do with the
I
cause
mean,
of death?
we did like combustion, like I don't know if there is a like maybe the friction so much. I don't know that
Probably
creates
not,
fire.
though.
Probably not, but
Yeah.
maybe it's relevant if he saw something related to that.
No, he did not.
Just fire and burned
He just
body.
had sodomy colored glasses, as you would say.
I hate
So that was the lens
glasses.
he was looking through
What are those ones look
with everything. I don't think they're very fashionable.
like?
So Amend admitted that he railed against sodomy and the lifestyles, this is the wording of the article, of homosexuals, wording of the article, and stating publicly that another investigation person, 9-year-old murder victim Rachel Carver, had been sodomized, although an autopsy wasn't conclusive. So he made public statements about that, which is a violation of privacy and also, again, has absolutely nothing to do with cause of death.
Okay.
So when we come into the story, it's end of 96. He's fighting for his license against these multiple charges. So let's dive into a couple of these cases.
So he's being charged for sodomy.
No, he's being charged for moral turpitude
Moral turpitude.
because he's basically obsessed with sodomy and
Because he's
homosexuality.
asking, okay, because so how did it come to be that he got like charged with that? Like what was the circumstances that someone complained, right? Who complained?
Well, 5 families
So the
filed
families.
charges.
Okay.
A whole bunch of local medical doctors signed petitions. And then there's this whole what was it? We
So it had to
started
be
a
more than just
47
like
page
a
motion.
question here and there. Like it takes a lot to get people to
Yeah.
rally that way.
So in October of 96, there was a 47-page motion filed with the State Medical Quality Insurance Commission that were asking them to take away his license basically because of this moral turpitude.
Mm.
So I wanted to dive into a couple of these cases, and I want to say this is how much dedication I have to this podcast. So
Mhm.
the only information I could really find about this was from the Spokesman Review. And after looking at 3 articles, I got cut off and had to pay for a digital subscription, which I did. You're welcome. I
Wow.
paid $10 so I could continue
Is
looking
it
into this.
forever $10 or
Well, I'll cancel it before it expires.
good?
But I tried so many workarounds and I could
Do
not
you usually work around?
get past it. So all the information 100% only comes from one source, but multiple different journalists and articles. I mean, I usually try to cite multiple sources, but I was really not able to find any in this case. Oh, no, one of these was from a Seattle newspaper. So one of these lawsuits were relatives of Curtis Babcock, who died from AIDS complications. So they filed a $2 million
Mm.
claim against the county, saying the coroner, Dr. Dexter Amend, left them emotionally traumatized.
Hmm.
So Dr. Amend delayed Curtis Babcock's cremation and memorial service because he was trying to arrange an autopsy to link his death to sodomy. And so an autopsy wasn't indicated because Babcock's doctor had already said he died from AIDS complications. So there's no need to do
Right, there's already a medical explanation.
an autopsy that was going to be focused around the anal region. So can you imagine this family? They've just lost their loved one to a horrible, horrible disease. And then this coroner is like, no, you can't cremate him and have your memorial service and, do your rituals and things and
Because I
possibly
need
get
to,
moved towards closure because I need to investigate his anal regions because I want to connect his death to sodomy.
wow, agenda much.
Much. So the family's attorney said the coroner's trying to spend our county money to appease his deviant interest in gay people.
Yeah, that's weird. That's a great definition.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so this quote is probably my favorite of all of this stuff that I'm going to present to you. So at the time, County Commissioner Steve Hassan said, "Holy cow, that's a lot of money," because the family was suing for 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's very unsettling for the board. We're trying to run this county on a wing and a promise. I'm like, County Commissioner Steve Hassan, that's what you're that's what you're concerned about.
On a wing and a
Holy
what?
cow. That's a lot of money, he said. That's very unsettling for the board. We're trying to run this county on a wing and a promise. So more concerned about the
Finances.
finances than the actual trauma that this family underwent at the hands of an elected government official.
That's a lot of money.
Holy
Yeah.
cow.
Holy cow.
Oh boy. All right. So another of these lawsuits involved relatives of little 11-year-old fire victim Jeffrey Himes. So they're very upset. Um, and so when the older brother of Jeffrey was 13-year-old Brian, and so the coroner actually interrogated him after the
Yeah.
death, like right after, like your brother just died tragically in a fire. And so Dr. Amen quizzed him about his little brother's sexuality,
What?
which has nothing to do with dying in a fire.
No, we already established that. Yeah.
Yep. And so Dr. Amond repeatedly asked whether Jeffrey masturbated or had sex with another boy. And the family was saying, what does that have to do with my son's death?
Mm-hmm.
So a portable heater is what is blamed for the Monday morning blaze,
Hmm. Oh, I see.
not masturbation
I see.
or,
Okay, yeah. So the cause of death was
yeah, a
the
fire. A
fire.
fire, yeah,
Fire.
a fire.
Fire. Okay.
Yes. Jeffrey's friend also died, 15-year-old Brant Connolly. So I think that's maybe what made Dr. Amons go down that path. Like, oh, two boys in a shed, must be sodomy going on.
I think the word obsession that was used earlier is pretty on point. Like,
Yes. Isn't
why?
this twisted?
It is pretty
So I
twisted.
lived in Spokane. Did I live here during this time? No, this might have been during the time I moved away briefly to California because I'm like, I do not remember any of this, but I didn't really like super follow local news. I still
Right.
don't super follow local news.
Well,
Ask your dad if he remembers this. Did you all live over here in the mid 90s? When did you move over here?
2000, 2000.
Okay. It was, in Seattle news too. So maybe
Mhm.
you're sort of it.
Hmm. He also was a corrections officer, so maybe he's sort of it.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. So the brother, Brian Hines, said, I think this guy is strange to talk about this, especially when I just found out my little brother died. Yeah,
Hmm.
have some sympathy, guy.
And less moral turpitude.
So when the boy's father confronted Dr. Amond about this line of questioning, the dad said the coroner told him sexual deviancy abounds in Spokane. Abounds! It's
I
abounding.
mean, it is abounding, but I honestly like a whole topic could, and I might hit it one day about the softening of how people talk about and address people who use religion in such a way to buffer themselves from consequences. Like, that's
Mhm.
not okay. And just because you slap a religious label on it doesn't make it okay. And
Yes.
especially if you're just doing it for your values and don't consider other
Well,
cultures or values.
separation of church and state. He's an elected official. So
Yeah.
why are we bringing his moral turpitude
Well,
into
we are
this?
not. He did. He brought his moral
By we, I mean
turpitude.
him.
Right. And but that's done so often and it is but then and it's like this it's like he gets to even be allowed that defense. Like the fact that he even gets to say that. Like no, like it's
Yeah.
not a defense. It's not
Yeah.
a defense.
Yeah. And I really tried to like go back in time and like, okay, 1996, cultural context. I'm like, no, it's still F.
Still not okay.
I would still say the majority of people were not thinking along his lines.
Hmm. And even if they were, it's still not okay.
Okay, so that was another of the cases. And then the summer before that, Dr. Ament asked the mother of a teenage girl who was killed in a gang-related shooting if the girl was ever sodomized by gangsters.
And like ever, how does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, so the mom, Mabel Grantham, said, I thought, what in the hell does getting shot in the head have to do with being sodomized?
I mean, they both may
What
involve
in
a
the hell?
whole. It involves a whole, but we'd like to right here and now on this podcast
Oh,
say that it is different. They're
very
different holes.
different. Yes. So her daughter was named Kendra Grantham and she was age 16. And then in that same incident, Cindy Buffin, age 17, were shot while sitting on the porch with friends in Northeast Spokane. So they were both
Wow, what was that about?
both killed. It says it was gang related. This
Sounds
is also Spokesman Review, so take it with a grain of salt. It may not have been gang related. That may be a bias on the journalist's
mm-hmm.
part or the police officer's part.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, was really difficult to find any diverse sources of information on this. So the mom went on to say, it's hard enough for me to even think about her being dead without him asking me questions like this. I thought, gee, this guy doesn't have a homosexual issue here. He's just a pervert. Right on, Mabel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So people were trying to get together to get him recalled. So I guess that's a process that you can recall an elected official.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
They'd been trying since the previous year when he tried to link the murder of a 9-year-old girl to homosexuality. Now, this makes no sense.
Okay.
Not that any of this has made sense so far,
Okay.
but this,
Really
just
doesn't.
wait.
I'm waiting. Here we go.
I was doing my puzzled face all over the place when I was reading this. Okay. So a 9-year-old girl, Rachel Carver, was murdered. Her uncle later confessed to the killings. But, oh, hold on. That's,
Does sodomy equal murder? Is that a thing?
well,
Can you be alive and be sodomized?
I mean, under certain circumstances, it could be the cause of death,
Right, but
like in that horse.
percentage wise, like how, what are the odds of
Well,
that
that horse
happening?
thing
I know, but that horse bestiality episode is kind of not the norm.
right. I mean, that's the only case
Yeah.
that's immediately
It
coming
seems
to
like on
my
the inside
mind.
of your shade there is really not bothering me.
The bugs.
It's on the inside of your shade.
I know. It's like freaking Amityville horror up in
It's the
here.
grudge up in here. It's the ring.
Yes. Okay. So little Rachel Carver's mom was seeking $1 million, saying that Dr. Dexter invaded Rachel's privacy. So he released her autopsy results publicly.
I was just gonna ask, like, so what was okay? So
What in the actual hell? Like what?
HIPAA. Come on now.
Yep.
Hmm.
So Eamon's defense was, I didn't mention her by name. But how many 9-year-old murder victims are in
Right.
Spokane?
It's identifiable information, which
Yes.
means like if I can narrow it down as a common person, then I can
Yes,
figure it out.
exactly. So Dr. Amon said she's been sodomized over and over, and sodomy is a homosexual act. Okay. And then he followed up with, it is infidelity to just.
Okay.
So how
How?
how is that a
How it is.
okay? And I hate using the word homosexual. I know it's very outdated, but that's the word that was used then. But how is that a homosexual act? This is a little girl. It makes no sense. Like he's so I don't know. It just it's bonkers. It doesn't make any
Well,
sense.
yeah, he's somehow just saying that it is
He
it cause of death was this, therefore it was a homosexual act done by somebody.
well, I think he's in his mind, he's saying that only men who are interested in men want to have sex, in the back door,
Hmm.
which is not true.
It's not true.
Not the case.
Not the case.
So he's vilifying, you know, gay men here.
Yeah, which
So he was very outspoken
I
about his
guarantee for this man.
condemnation.
Remember I don't remember. That's what we talked about, where all the supposed straight married men end up at the gas station or the truck stops glory hole thing.
Well, not all of them, but some might.
Maybe just a handful. You're right. That was a generalization. I'll take that.
I guarantee you some are, yeah, at the glory holes.
He sounds like one of that.
Like
He might partake.
yeah, and God, we had a mayor that was super conservative.
Right.
Was his name Jim West? Super conservative, and then he was found like naked in the pool with some young twink or something.
Right. Yeah. So it's like
It's
and like
methinks that I
again,
protest too much.
right.
It's that
Like
kind of situation.
that's fine, but don't. call every murder case sodomy, and I won't call every gas station visit a glory hole.
You mean rest stops?
Did I say gas station?
Yeah.
I mean,
I
are they
mean,
not the
there
same
might be
thing?
some gas stations and rest stops. There's no gas at rest stops. There's just a
But
potty.
shouldn't there be?
There should be, but there's not. There's just a potty and a parking lot.
But a gas station is a rest stop then, but a rest stop is not necessarily a gas station?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rest stops are those
The long strip ones that like
like
have the for the truck.
alongside the highway and that are not privately owned
I
for
see.
profit.
Okay.
It's just a place to pull off and rest and pee,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it.
That's the ones that always have the like, if you've been kidnapped on the other side of the door, text this number. Pretty sure they don't have their cell phone. Just saying. At this juncture.
Can I say I went to Walmart today? Okay, this is
I
a
went to Walmart
tangent.
yesterday. That's where I got those cookies.
So I don't go to Walmart very often,
Over
but
there.
I'm actually, due to rising costs, thinking about going there now because I was kind of browsing. I'm like, oh, that is half the price
Way
from my regular
cheaper.
grocery store.
Yeah.
But I went there to for something for work, and when I go in, I see this sign front and center. Make sure you didn't leave your kids in your car, your hot car. I'm like, oh my
Good
goodness.
PSA. Oh.
Like, but who, I think the people that are reading that are the people that aren't leaving their kids in their hot car, unfortunately. But have we come to that place where you have to have a warning for that? And
Yeah.
is it going to help?
I don't think we're going to that place. I think we've been in that place. And no, it doesn't because it still happens. I don't know.
That's horrific. Do you know that there's warning labels on strollers to remove your baby before you fold it up?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's valid.
I don't think it is. I
That's
don't. I
valid.
don't think that should be necessary.
I would say babies are like flexible.
So Rachel Carver's mother in her claims said that her daughter had been used and humiliated by the Spokane County coroner for
Hmm.
selfish political purposes, and her reputation has been severely and irreparably compromised and damaged in the eyes of the public. I mean, you know, you shouldn't release people's personal medical information,
No.
especially when it's self-serving. So Dr. Amend, in his defense, said, "Oh, I have a letter from Rachel's dad that gives verbal consent."
But first of all, a letter is not verbal consent. Just to
It is not.
he's no longer allowed any defenses because of that statement.
So supposedly
Where did
there's a
he get
letter
off?
stating verbal consent
Okay, I mean,
to release his daughter's
and
autopsy results.
letters don't say things, people say things.
And so this dad had spent a year in jail for sexually abusing Rachel's sister and was later found, it was found that he had also been sexually abusing Rachel.
Thanks.
Poor little 9-year-old Rachel's body was discovered in Riverside State Park.
Jeez.
So her uncle was ultimately charged with killing the child. And so Dr. Amen said he felt
Okay.
compelled to speak out about the
It's
autopsy
just
results.
take that compellingness and shove it back.
Uncompel. Gather
Uncompelled.
yourself.
Gather to like, take it, write that email and then let it sit for a day before you send it.
Yes. Sleep on it.
Yeah, take a moment. Take a breath, a deep breath.
So he said, I don't care what the political ramifications are on this.
Clearly.
It's a horrible, unbelievable thing that this
It's a
client
great
went through.
trepidation.
And they, homosexuals, destroyed her life. So, yes, it is absolutely horrible what she went through.
Yes.
But then the next part is his nonsense
Yeah.
here. So Spokane doctors by the end of 1995 were like, we need this guy out.
Making us look bad.
They gathered signatures from 136 Spokane colleagues.
Okay.
Um, And so a recall process went underway. What do you think happened? What's your guess?
Okay, so my glasses are gone now. Uh, what happened next?
Yeah, what do you think happened after the recall process started?
We need recall process.
To like
Oh, like
get him out of
procedure.
the position.
He then tried to leave it himself because it's less damaging if you do it first.
Oh, that's a really good guess.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
So the recall was judicially invalidated in March of 1996.
Hmm.
There was insufficient evidence.
Of what? Of him being a dick?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all kind of there in writing, not in the word of voice.
Yeah, so he did not get recalled. He actually got to finish out his term.
How long was that?
So it ended in 1999. So that's like 4 years
Let's say
after all this stuff.
like you can't even as the administrator be like, oh yeah, we just had to kind of push it out for appearance. Like, no,
Yeah, can you imagine?
no.
I'm just I'm offended.
I fired for less.
Like this is our government decisions.
I mean, that doesn't shock me, but
Yeah,
I
so
don't like it.
he was allowed to finish it out till 1999,
But
and he
okay,
was
I
done.
hate that he was allowed to do that. Like, just
I hate it too
why allow it? Why allow it?
because there was
Don't.
insufficient evidence of his moral turpitude.
But no, there's not.
Yeah,
They're wrong, and there was. So, are they biased?
and I think this is where, yes, the biases come in for sure. I mean, Spokane's government is still like riding on the foundations of like old boys club, like old Spokane, like you still,
There's still it exists.
it still
Yeah,
exists, yeah. So Dr. Amend at that time said that he was glad to go.
I'm sure he was. All this moral turpitude everywhere,
All this turpitude all over the
everywhere.
place,
It's
left and right.
all over the place.
Let's try to use that word.
Turpitude?
Let's make it like,
I mean, I haven't, but yeah, now.
no, let's like outside of this.
Outside of
Let's
this.
make a pact to each use it once in this
It's
coming
so
week.
warm in here. Do you not feel like you're slowly in an easy bake oven?
No, we are.
Between the lighting and that light, I feel
It's
like
hot. It's like
I'm
probably 96
am
degrees
I hallucinating
outside.
right now? Yeah, no, it's not, it's like it gives the illusion that it's a comfortable temperature, and I have to question that. So I'm like,
I
oh,
mean,
this
it's
is
not 96 in here.
kind of oh,
Macy did that.
I did that.
Okay.
That's like too much.
It's, it's goth now.
Yeah,
It's a little goth. Are you feeling like heat is coming off of the light?
I feel like between the color of
Or is
the
it
walls,
psychological?
psychological, the color of the walls with the color of this, it's
What
very
do you
dim, and the heat, like I feel like I could take a nap, and I had so much energy in
what do
my
you feel about the color of these walls?
I feel like they are within combination of the light, it is a little like suffocating.
I'll tell you what.
These bugs in here don't help.
The butt the butt
They had that in the Satan room.
when I chose this
Why do you want him
color,
out right now during all this bug talk?
because he's part of the team.
Oh.
Um, I chose this color in 2006.
Is it called like it has to be something like Adobe.
Well, 2006, I don't know. But I had a client at that time call it the mustard rim of trust.
It's not mustard, it's a
No, but
brown.
that's what the client said. You don't ever correct,
I mean, if they're
out loud.
wrong, I do.
Yeah, I don't know what this color is,
It's like
actually.
a sandstone Adobe house from pre-civilization era.
Yeah, do you know these walls used to be bright pink, and so this is an
My
improvement.
basement in my house looked like a watermelon. Half of it was pink, and the other half was neon green.
So This is an improvement.
100%. Mine aren't, oh my gosh, that's why I hate this color. It just registered. This is the color that is in my basement. They painted over the
Oh,
ugly green pink. Why is this the color that they go to? Is there like a bunch of
me. I
contrast?
picked this.
Was it cheap?
I don't know, probably. I mean, but I specifically chose this color.
Mm,
But it's been 18 years up there. Maybe it's time for
a
a palette
refresh.
change.
Maybe an accent wall, perhaps, to create some visual openings.
Oh, I hate an accent wall.
But like, what do you mean by that?
I like all the walls the same color
Why?
because I just don't
But
like
you do
that.
accent window frames and
Yeah,
doors.
yeah, and the ceiling's a different color.
That's the accent.
Okay, it's an accent ceiling.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you consider
fine.
that a wall, a top wall?
I mean, it does make it's the visual appearance makes it taller in here.
Here's some lingo I learned from Paul,
Okay.
my lover.
You love it.
It's called the lid.
That's so dumb. The lid?
Yeah, not a ceiling. It's called the lid.
From who? Who says this?
That's
Uh,
painter lingo.
Painter. The lid.
Yeah, which I like. I'll go with it.
Now I feel like I'm in a container.
You are. Because if the lid was off,
Then there'd be a tornado, and
then
I'd
there'd
be
be
concerned.
no
Out life anymore.
there'd be no talk.
There would be no top, there'd just be an inside. But there's also a door.
There's a door. There's multiple exit points from this room, actually.
Two?
Yeah, two is like more than legal.
It's definitely more than
You
one.
only need one. So, Dr. Amend said he's glad to go in 1999. He said, the stress of having to deal with so many dead people just gets to you after a while.
You think? I mean, okay, you're right. Part one, you don't have to deal with dead people because they're dead.
I just,
Like, they're not posing arguments.
I just think that's an odd thing to make a public statement about during an interview about you leaving office. Like, I wouldn't say that. Like, it's so insensitive.
Mhm. Deal with
Deal with, and like
dead
these are
people.
people, these are like brothers and sisters and fathers and
Well, he makes it
mothers
sound
and
like they're talking to them.
kids, and they're humans, and just be like, the stress of having to deal with so many dead people. I don't know.
I mean, I don't disagree with his sentiment, but he
What does
makes
he think the corner job's about? It is dead people. I
it's
think
the corner.
you
I
gotta
he
love
might
dead people. You
he
gotta love
might
it.
have misheard because when you said coroner, my brain went to like coronary, like a heart. Maybe he thought he was gonna become a
Or
heart doctor.
corner, like take out the second O, and he thought he was gonna
Right.
just be in the corner.
Yeah, something like that, or a heart doctor.
Like he thought it was gonna be Jennifer Grey holding a
Yeah,
watermelon.
correct. Yeah.
No, that would be way too gay.
Way.
Way too gay. All that dancing. Come
So
on.
much dancing.
Ooh, Patrick Swayze. Come on.
Prerequisites.
Those
Yeah.
tight pants.
Yeah.
Sin.
Small sweat towels,
Sin. Sin.
rolling massage blocks.
Blocks don't roll.
I don't know. I'm in
Are you talking
line
about
with
foam
I'm
rollers?
in line with his thinking.
Are you talking about foam rollers?
Yeah, but they're definitely
They're
blocks in his
definitely
mind.
cylindrical. Yeah,
Probably
blocks don't roll.
they
It's a hard
probably
stop.
involved with sodomy somehow.
Oh, always.
Why they won't
Somehow
roll anymore.
it would make its way to some kind of nether region.
Blocks don't have nether regions either.
Well, he would see them because he's having
Well,
sodomy colored
if there's
glasses.
lids, then there's gotta be
Bottoms?
bottoms. Okay, we're getting to your logic, I guess.
I guess. Salutes to all the tops and bottoms out there, BT dubs.
And all the
And
in-betweens.
switches, yeah. Um, so he was sued by 5 families in his term, and then more than 35,000 people signed a recall petition, but the state Supreme Court threw it out. They could have stripped away his medical license. They did not. So all he got out of all that, the consequence, you ready for this?
Hmm.
He got $1,000 fine
That hurt your wallet in 1892. Oh wait, this was 19.
1996.
Okay.
And he got 20 hours of
Community service.
sensitivity training.
How many hours?
20. Like, what do you think that looked like back in 1996?
It's some of the,
Sensitivity
I
training.
mean, I think we've seen those before in videos shown at employment. So it's like the blue colored backgrounds with somebody walking from one point to another point talking about bullet points.
I mean, it brought to me the diversity training on The Office. Like, that's all I could think about.
Right, right, right.
Like, do you think it was something like that?
I'm teaching an ethics class and I always play the first day of class the let's get ethical. Ethical. Yeah, no, I don't think he's ethical.
Do you think he learned anything from that training?
Did he post sodomy as a thing after that?
Like, do you think he changed
Well, but
from his
I'm
20 hours?
asking you, did he?
I mean, I don't think he did.
Was there any further charges?
I think what changed for him is he stopped being so loud about it. I think he's exactly the same person. He just realized
Is he alive
I
still?
need to shut up. So I looked it up. I actually read
I don't know
his.
how old he is in all fairness.
Okay, this was not on the Spokesman Review.
What's his name?
I actually looked it up. He died 2 years ago at the age of 101.
What? I was gonna harass him on social media. All right, what's his name? What was his
Dr.
name?
Dexter Amend. I read his, you know how the family like posted like who he was? It was extremely religious.
And I just want to say that like sometimes families, not in this case, like I've known someone who like their mom passed away and the what was presented about them, it was like, who is this person you're like characterizing?
Oh
Who's
yeah, that
not?
can happen. Yeah.
Okay, so
Go to legacy.com, I think is where I read it. The
Dexter, what was the last
eulogy.
name? Sorry.
Amen. So, he lived to be really old. So is it true that it's the ornery ones that
Obituary 2021.
live to be super old?
I don't think so. He was called home to Jesus
I told you, yeah.
just shy of his 102nd birthday. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Is he white?
Yes,
Okay. I made
100%.
on 4th of July, I went to my dad's and I made plain white round sugar cookies with nothing on them to celebrate
The whiteness
the plain whiteness of
The
that holiday.
foundations of America.
Yes. Oh, there's his face. Ew. He has a stink face. Of course, this man was into sodomy.
Dexter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder like
He was born in 1919.
what did he have on the down low going on? I'm sure there was something.
Mm-hmm. He was preceded by his wife of 76 years, Yvonne, survived by 6 children, 15 grandchildren, 21 great grandchildren. They met at Pacific University. He got an undergrad in pre-med. He went down to Oregon. He was a naval officer. Do you know that?
I don't think we need to celebrate him.
He served on the U.S. ship that was stationed in Yokosuka, Japan. Okay,
So he's dead.
he died.
Um,
He was elected twice. Twice.
yeah.
Mm.
So a local
Okay,
yokel.
this phrases him. This is his obituary. That's why it's all.
Yeah.
It says he was elected twice as Spokane County coroner, as well as serving as a medical missionary in Imigan, Philippines, after retiring from private practice. He enjoyed traveling with his family. That's it. That's what that says.
Yeah, they didn't want to
They
focus
didn't want
on
to mention sodomy. Okay.
the
He
sodomy.
would have appreciated it if they mentioned sodomy, though.
Yeah, it would have been, and he hated sodomy.
That's why it's important to plan out your death ahead of time so you can have the statements you care about
Living
spoken
well.
to, right?
Write it down.
He taught patience, love, and the importance of caring for all.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true either. He lived his life until the end on terms. Well, he lived his life until the end on terms his God and he had worked out.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds weird.
It's very odd. Yeah. Dad lived his life in Christ.
Well, I think
Back to whence you came, I suppose.
he hurt a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I wish
The
that
Seattle Times. Dr. Dexter, not so dearly departed.
no, I wish that
Burn.
our officials would have done a better job of
Mm-hmm.
removing him from that position. I don't think that it was not an insufficient evidence situation. I think there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of evidence. I think people were biased at that time. I think those foundations still run deep.
Mm-hmm.
The
He
government.
sparked national outrage with a one-man campaign against gay men. Um, there's that part, and it says he disappeared for 2 years.
I don't think he disappeared. I
He
think he
kept
was
him
just
down the hall. Oh, they like kept him quiet basically during that time when he was in
yeah,
trouble.
he just stopped talking out.
Mm-hmm.
He was muzzled.
Gotcha. Hasn't had a sign since someone ripped it down and left it in the hallway. So the coroner's office hasn't had a sign on the door since someone ripped it off.
Well, that was written in 1999 though.
Okay. This one?
Yeah.
Hmm. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. They support it. Yeah, this is weird. It says, hmm. So his job, what is the coroner's job then? To just sign death certificates?
Yeah. To do official cause of death, which is important. It's important that that be accurate, and it's important that it not say sodomy or
Mhm.
homosexuality. Because think about that. That's such important data. Like I look up all the time, like, well, not all the time, but on occasion I look up like death statistics in our area to see like how many people died by
Right.
suicide or by this or that.
Right.
And if it's not accurate, then you don't know where to focus
Right. That was one of the
programming or anything.
um coming across like LGBTQ plus in military and only having them just like recently starting to track that, like how many people gave their lives, how many people enlisted, like you don't know. It's all
Yeah,
skewed.
so that's important.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
also somebody's, a death certificate, it's somebody's legacy and it impacts so much. I mean, my dad's cause of death was hidden from me. I was never told that.
Really?
And so my dad died when I was 2 years old. And I heard so many different stories from like my family, and
Mhm.
nobody ever directly like told me. It was just always like me overhearing something, and all the stories were different. And then one day when I was 15, I was in the garage and I found his actual official death certificate
Oh.
from the army. And that was how I learned that he had died from a drug overdose, that
Oh.
he shot himself
Right.
up with morphine. And I was fucking devastated. Like I went completely off the rails.
Right. Just to like find it out of nowhere too.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, that's when I went on a freaking rampage. I mean, I was rampaging after that. Like I was GTA full force after that because I was so upset that that information had been withheld from
Mhm.
me. And can you imagine if that information was not accurate?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
it
If
had
you
such an
react off of that.
impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So death certificates need to be accurate. And this guy was just,
Which
fooling.
which brings me to the case of my possibly not dead ex still. There's no death record still.
Yeah, you have to have a
How? How?
record.
How?
You have to have a record.
The accuracy is really upsetting to because I was 1500 it said that he signed.
Yeah. So that should be our until next time, I
I
think.
think so.
Like
Um,
accuracy in records is important because it impacts families, friends, it impacts policy, it impacts research, it impacts programming. It's so important. So you can't let your biases get in the way. Like that should definitely be something that's objective and empirical, I think.
I agree. And it said that his wife stood outside the door, often saying, "Don't get started. Don't." Because like once he would get started on the sodomy track, he would have a hard time stopping
He
talking
sounds like a
about
rant
it.
and raver.
Right. Until next time. You really
I
threw me
just
with
said mine, it's
rant and
you.
raver. It was really good. Yeah. Until next time,
Isn't that the name of a restaurant up north?
rant and raver.
It's like
It sounds
the
like it should be.
or the Rest and Rave. I don't know. It's
I don't
something.
know.
It's
Until
up by
next,
where your dad lives.
I don't know.
The Rest and Rant. Maybe
They're
that's what
probably
it
out of
is.
business if
I
they
think they are.
existed at ever.
But I see the sign every time. I'm like,
Until next time, not all holes are the same.
oh, definitely not.
In fact, most aren't the
Thank you
same.
for listening.
Bye.